Goldfinger.
And welcome to Bond Never Dies. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans. With me, Travis Hanna. And we are your host. And we want to tell you that I want to thank everyone for keeping up with us. I know this is our third episode, and we are having a hell of a time going through these. We just went through Dr. No and From Russia with Love, and now we're hitting the big whammy one. This is the one that's a lot of people's favorites. It's my dad's favorite. I don't know if it's your dad's favorite, Travis. I don't know if your dad has a favorite Bond movie or whatever.
I don't know if he does or not either.
Okay, but this is one of Sean Connery's or one of Bond's, like, you know, one of his best missions that people portray as. So we're going through this again to see if it's how we feel about it now compared to back in the day. And for you guys wondering what the show's about, this is a show about, we look at James Bond of the mission that he did and he succeeded in the mission that he had, you know. And this one's a little bit different. This time he's after a particular target.
That's right.
And hence the title, Goldfinger. And so I first want to go off the first song and visual. So how do we feel about the song going in? I thought the song really, really wanted you to know about who this person is before going into before actually seeing the very first scene of, like, well, I lied. You have a scene before where, you know, Bond has a thing, which is probably one of the best openers in a Bond movie.
I agree.
Okay. But when we go right into the song, it was just straight up, this is who he is. This is what you're getting into. And then what we see is, what Travis has pointed out a while back, I never put two and two together, is that this is the very first Bond that we actually get to see a little sneak preview of what you're in for through the image of the gold girls showing in the intro. So you get particular certain scenes, like the girls on the, like, you know what I mean, Travis? Like, you see the scenes on the girls' legs.
Well, we saw that kind of in the other ones where they were showing little hints here and there about what was going to happen.
Did we get more visuals, though? Do you think this one was more visual?
This one was definitely more visual because they were overlaying like Bond onto a woman painted in gold.
Okay.
Or, you know, they were showing one feature that Bond's car does in this is the license plate can swap from numbers and countries and things like that. And they kind of showed that, you know, in the opening. I remember seeing that.
Okay.
But this is also, like, the song is all about the villain.
Right.
You know, like you're right. They want us to know that this dude is all about gold and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get it.
Now, did you like the song?
I did like the song. It's pretty catchy. I'm a fan of the TV show Frasier, and there's an episode where they're in a piano bar, and the only song they can all agree to sing is Goldfinger.
Yeah. That's a really good episode. Cause didn't his dad help sing it too?
Yeah. Well, he was making him sing.
Yeah. Okay. And so I honestly really like the horns to represent who Goldfinger is, because, like, you hear, like, Goldfinger, na, 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 na.
Yeah.
Like that. Every time you hear her saying Goldfinger, that noise always comes in.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And this is the first time going into this movie that we have two characters having their own theme song clash against each other. So when Bond comes to scene, you hear the familiar Bond music, and then when Goldfinger comes in, you hear the Goldfinger music.
Right.
And so that was really cool. And so so for people that haven't seen Goldfinger, Travis, what do you kind of give them a general idea what Goldfinger is about?
So Bond is on Bond finished a mission and he's quote unquote relaxing, and it turns out that where they sent him to relax is actually his next assignment. And he's actually working with the American government this time. He's got a contact with, I'm going to say CIA. I don't think they ever said, but I guess the American version of MI6. And they're tracking this guy, Goldfinger, because they know something is up, but they're not sure what it is. They just know it involves gold, and they need Bond to find out what's going on. So long story short, because there's a lot of this movie is actually packed with a lot of scenes to build up Bond and Goldfinger, which we'll talk about. But essentially, Goldfinger wants to irradiate Fort Knox so that his gold is more valuable because he has the largest collection of it.
Right.
And Bond has to stop him.
And so I noticed right in the very beginning of this, and the difference, I guess, is from the first two movies, it had a very, very slow start to getting to identify who Bond is and what his mission is. This, they get straight to the point, like right off the bat. Like he didn't even like get really, well, he had an intro at the very beginning, and let's talk about the intro real quick before I go to that part, which so far has the best intro for Bond ever. He infiltrates this place. He blows this up with this, guess like this gelish kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was giant Gert, like
right.
He had literally like this huge tube of, it was like toothpaste Gert, and he spread it out on some nitroglycerin barrels, and then put some receivers in it to blow up. You know, so he plants his bomb. He gets out. He finished the job, and he's wearing the scuba diver thing. Takes it off, wearing a white suit. Anybody who has seen True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, imagine when he comes out of the water and he rips the wetsuit off, and he's got the tuxedo on, except it's white, right? And he's got a red carnation. Out of nowhere. Right. Then he goes right into a bar where everybody is just dancing stuff. He eyes this girl. He sets the bomb up. It blows up. Everybody's going crazy. He gets this girl in the room because he's like, I'm going to hit that. Well, there's a contact at the bar that tells him. Oh, yeah. Don't go back to your hotel room. That's Our intel says that they're going to try and get you. But Bond, being the ladies' man, he wants some action. Right. So he's like, I'm going to hit that. He grabs her, goes in this room. They were doing their thing. It was set up. And then the guy comes in, I guess, like, what was it, like a baton or something? Yeah, it was just like a little billy club type thing. Use her as a shield. Yeah. So this chick gets knocked on the head and knocked out. Then they wrestle and fight. He ends up pushing the guy into a bathtub, kicks a fan into the water, electrocuted, walks off saying, shocking. Done. Mic dropped. Yeah, it was pretty good. All that in like 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, him sneaking into the base and this fight scene, like 5 minutes. That was insane. It then goes right into the intro. So now speeding it back up, Bond gets accepted in this hotel. Like you said, he was relaxing. He doesn't even go to the office to get, talked about. Hey, this is your mission. Nope. He's like, Felix, the CIA agent, comes to him. He's like, hey, this is your assignment. This is what M wants you want to do. And he's like, I need you to infiltrate Goldfinger. I need you to find out everything you have. By the way, here he is. So he just comes down. It's like, crap, this is straight to the point. It's like, it's no like build up where he could be. It's like, he's right there. Good luck. I'm out. And then right after that, Bond doesn't even try at this point. He's just like, I'm going to let him know who I am. Oh yeah. Oh well, it's not. We need to set the scene up because. Sorry. I got hyped because it happened so quick. You're right. This movie just goes, but you have to appreciate like the fashion, because Bond is wearing like this jumpsuit. It's like a leisure suit, but instead of long pants, it's shorts, and it's made out of bath towel. And he's walking around like he's the coolest guy there, where if you saw him today, you'd be like, what the hell is that guy think wearing? About like way back in like, where the movie is setting in the 60s, where, the old school kind of like, swimsuits wears, all that stuff. Like you would see the old school, old commercials with the girls singing and they're hanging on the beach and everything like that. Those are kind of like that. Or if you ever play BioShock Infinite, that's set in that kind of time machine. They have a beach scene, but that's beside the point. So that's set in that kind of area where he's at a hotel resort, and that's where he got the mission where it happened. Goldfinger is staying at, and then that's how they meet. Ish. Well, they don't even really meet. Ish. Like, it turns out Goldfinger has been playing this guy, Gin Rummy, every day at the same time and has taken $10,000 from this dude.
That guy must have money, the other guy, to like...
Well,
just
I mean, it looked like, it looked like it was a pretty expensive place.
Right.
But Bond notices that Goldfinger's wearing a radio that looks like he's listening to sports or something else. But in reality, he has to sit in the same spot so that his opponent sits in this one spot so that this woman from his balcony can see what cards this guy has. So basically, Goldfinger is so low that he has he is super wealthy but has no issue cheating people at cards.
Right.
For money.
Right. And that's right there describes what kind of character he's going to be right then and there. And then later on we see Bond takes a walk. But like I said, like Bond is so confident. It's not I guess what I mean, like, Bond is not really sneaking around. He's just more like, I know what's going on. I'm just going to walk past you. I'm just going to go do my thing. I know what's going to happen.
Right. And what Jeremy's talking about is, like, he walks up to the hotel room and there's a maid walking down the hall. He grabs her key and drags her over to Goldfinger's room and unlocks the door with the key. And the maid is like, well, that's Mr. Goldfinger's room. You can't go in there. And he's like, I know. And Goldfinger thanks you. And then she just like walks off. And then Bond walks onto the balcony and here's this chick in this black bikini.
Her name is Jill Masterson.
Jill Masterson. And, she's feeding Goldfinger all of the cards that his opponent has. And Bond, like, shuts off the radio, so Goldfinger's sweating, like, while he's playing cards. And then after he's done talking to this chick and, he's going to get with her, let's just face it.
But you might disagree with me. I think at that point in the film, she is the hottest girl compared to the other past girls. Right there, she was like, wow, she is hotter than the other girls so far that Bond has interacted, in my opinion.
I think it's the bikini.
It could be.
Because it's black, it's lacy.
Okay, then she pulls it up better than anybody.
No, for sure. Because like Pussy Galore and what was the other girl's name?
Her name is Tilly.
They don't really get undressed in this movie.
No.
Like, this is the only fan service we're going to get.
That's true. That's very true.
So I think that might have something to do with it. But Bond turns the radio back on, doesn't introduce himself, just informs Goldfinger that the jig is up and that he's going to, if he doesn't want to be reported, that he needs to lose all the money he won back to the guy so that everything is even. And then he goes off with the girl to his hotel room. That's how this movie opens.
I love it too because, like, right there, and you can see this whole movie was basically Bond and Goldfinger duking it out. Who is better?
Right.
That's basically what they were. They were competing on who is better.
100%.
And I say that because even in the next scene, he takes the girl to this hotel room. Goldfinger happens to know where he was staying at and sends his boy with him. Oddjob. Yeah. Knocks him out. Killed the girl. Sparing her gold. Walked out.
Okay. And didn't just spray paint her gold. It's like he told her to stand up, spray painted her gold, and then killed her. Because there's no gold anywhere else on the bed that she's laying on. It's just like, how the hell did he do that?
And suffocated of, I guess, what, the poison of the spray, I guess. That's what they had said.
The skin couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Couldn't get oxygen.
Yeah.
And so her body suffocated is what they said.
Boom. Travis, that all happened within like the first 15 minutes of the film.
I know, man.
And right there, it was Goldfinger just straight up telling me, look. First of all, you shouldn't have said your name to her because I can find that out real quick. And I'm gonna come and I'm gonna do this. And right there, they were just determined. They were just like, look, you gonna come at me? I'm gonna come at you.
Right.
So your turn now, Bond. What you gonna do?
Right. Because the next scene, Bond surprises, or not the next scene, but the next time they meet, Bond surprises him at the golf course.
Right. Now, can we roll back for just a second?
Okay.
Can we roll back where Bond actually goes to the office?
Oh, okay, sure.
And this is the first time we've seen Bond actually get really upset on a mission where he really took that personally, that a girl, which is surprising that he actually cares about, died like that. Like most girls just get shot and everything, but this girl died like in a fashion style, I guess. Right. So and even M told him that, hey, I don't think this is for you.
Right.
Like maybe
if you can't separate yourself from your work.
I will give it to, and this is the first time we hear him. 008 gets mentioned for the first time. 008.
Yep.
Makes me wonder, like, what the hell is 008 doing? Okay, anyway, so Bond decided to be professional about it, and then to the golf course.
So at the golf course, at the dinner, because this is important too.
Oh, yeah.
At the dinner,
this is the first time M and 007 actually outside of work. This is the first time they're together.
So Bond doesn't know anything that's going on. He's been kept in the dark, so he tells M that he wants to know. It would help him on his mission. So they go to this dinner, and they're talking with this gold expert who has a gold bar from the Nazi regime, or Third Reich, and they're going to use it to bait Goldfinger. Mm-hmm. So Bond goes to this country club where Goldfinger hangs out, and requests him in the pro shop where Bond is like looking at clubs and whatnot. And they decide to play golf.
Wait. Do you think it was funny that they both act like they didn't know each other?
Yes.
I thought that was the most funniest thing, because I look at Goldfinger. Now you know that's Bond,
right?
Come on. But I love how I'm gonna play the card that I think he was playing dumb, and I think he was just seeing what Bond was gonna do.
Oh, 100%.
So, anyways.
100%. So they're playing golf, and Goldfinger loses a ball. Well, first off, this is really funny to me. So Bond is, you can't tell, but Bond has been lugging around this gold bar. Okay, I looked it up.
I know where you get that.
The gold bar weighs 24 pounds. Okay, in real life, that's how much a bar that the size in the movie would weigh. Mm-hmm. And he just like nonchalantly just tosses it in front of Goldfinger while they're playing golf. Trying to set him up. And I'm like, where the hell did he? Where was this?
Right?
And then I don't ever see anybody pick it up.
You're right. I didn't put that together.
I'm like, so is this bar just hanging out?
I'm gonna. I guess I'll say Felix picked it up, because Felix was his caddy guy during that job. He was his caddyman,
right?
And Oddjob was there as Goldfinger's caddy,
right?
And so, I think at that point right there, right when he dropped that gold, it was right back at it again. I'm better than you. Your turn. And,
right.
And they started doing it again.
Well, because they raised the stakes on the golf match at that point. And Bond knows that Goldfinger cheats. Mm-hmm. And so Goldfinger hit a horrible drive and lost his ball while Bond was on the fairway. They couldn't find his ball, and Bond was like, Goldfinger made it a point to play by specific rules, and the rules state you can search for your ball for 5 minutes, otherwise you take a penalty, which is a drop. Mm-hmm. So anybody who doesn't play golf, if you lose a ball, you drop a ball, that's like an extra swing to your game. Mm-hmm. So to keep him from having to do that, Bond actually finds a golf ball that is the same brand but a different number. Mm-hmm. Anybody who doesn't play golf, there are Titleist 1, 2, 3, Pro V5, Pro. There's different numbers associated. Goldfinger's playing a Schlesinger 1. Bond finds a Schlesinger 7 and holds on to it. Then he catches Oddjob dropping a ball, so it appears like Goldfinger found his.
Sorry about
in actuality, Bond found his in a different location. Mm-hmm. So then later on, Bond sets Goldfinger up, and on the last hole, Goldfinger ends up beating him in golf. But Bond swaps the Schlesinger 1 for the Schlesinger 7 and makes Goldfinger pay him $5,000.
Mm-hmm. That's so messed up.
And then Goldfinger knows because they have dialogue about it. I mean, it's just like Jeremy said. It was a long way to get around to where Jeremy was saying they just competing with each other over who's better. Because even as Goldfinger's leaving, Oddjob demonstrates how dangerous his hat is, and he throws it at a statue, and it cuts the statue's head off. And Bond says, well, don't you think the country club's going to be a little upset about that? And Goldfinger says,
this is the best line ever.
I own the country club.
And then he gets in the car.
Gets in the car, which is a I can't remember what it is.
You look it up, and I'll keep going.
It's a Phantom. I don't remember who makes it. I think it's a Bentley.
It's a nice freaking car.
I think it's a Bentley Phantom.
But you look at that, and I'll say the next scene is where Bond, before he leaves, he tosses a ball at Oddjob, saying, "Hey man, here's your ball that I had the whole time." And then he just went straight Frankenstein with the ball. Just Oddjob just crushes like it's nothing. I'm like, okay. So
it was a Bentley Phantom.
Okay. It's still a really nice car. And
yeah.
And right there was like that what made it so exciting. And I loved it because what his mission with Dr. No and From Russia with Love, it felt like that they had a little bit of both put together. So you had Dr. No, his mission was a little bit more fast paced than From Russia with Love, but From Russia with Love had a little bit more character building. So now we're getting kind of that clash together as they're building each other up, Bond and Goldfinger.
Right, and there's a good mix of comedy.
Yes,
because there's some scenes that are really funny, like Bond gets in trouble, and one of the gadgets he got was a tracking device, and the CIA agent Felix just thinks that Bond has everything under control when in actuality he needs help. Mm-hmm. And so, like every time they go to spy on Bond to find out what's going on, it looks like Bond has everything under control, but in reality he doesn't.
Right,
which is kind of funny.
So my question is though, going into this next scene, where now this is the first time we're seeing Bond travel to follow him. I never once saw him put a tracking device on the car or whatsoever.
So when Oddjob was loading up the car before Goldfinger came out, and they had the dialogue about the check.
Yeah.
Oddjob walked away somewhere. So we'll talk about this more in the gadgets portion. But Bond got 2 tracking devices. One was a really big one that was magnetic, and a little tiny one that could fit in his shoe. Mm-hmm. Bond actually activated the magnetic one and attached it to the roof of the trunk.
Okay.
And for everybody listening, the car that Goldfinger is driving, I don't know the year, but it's an older style car, newer than like a Model A, but that kind of style. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely not a modern car where the trunk lid goes up. The trunk lid actually comes down, and then there's another barrier, and Bond reached into the trunk and attached it onto the
so there's no way that
roof.
They would notice.
So Oddjob wouldn't notice it.
Okay.
Right.
So they're following. He's deciding to follow them, which I think Goldfinger kind of already assumed, like, you're going to follow me. I mean,
sure, because he sees Bond at the airport, you know.
And then also the fact that, like, I guess they did leave the gold there because, like, Bond. That's another thing. Yeah, you said he left the gold there. I guess he wasn't interested in the gold anymore because that gold was off the table. Because now he knows he's being chased by Bond, right?
Well, and I think this is like that was the realization. Like Goldfinger suspected Bond and then realized after the golf game, because later on, when Bond gets captured by Goldfinger, he calls him out as 007.
That's true.
You know,
that's right.
And then he says, "My name is James Bond," and Goldfinger is like, "Don't." I know who you are. You have a very special car. You know, like not everybody has a car with guns and ejector seats.
Right. And so with that, I feel like that Bond could have just walked in the golf course and like, hey man, how about you and me play around? They actually like got gold for you. You interested? You interested? I don't know. But so he makes it across and they do this lovely scene of them driving. Also the main thing about this movie is a lot of driving.
Yes.
Because the reason why it's inserted so much, because later on when we go to the Q branch segment, that one of his major gadgets is a car. So you're going to see a lot of scenery and a lot of chases with a car.
Well, also, it's 1964 when this movie came out. Mm-hmm. The iconic Mustang body style came out in 1964 and a half. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time. It's the first time. It's like when we first see the new Camaro in the Transformers movie when Bumblebee is the new Camaro.
I see.
You know, so this is the first time we're seeing the 64.5 Mustang in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 1964 Lincoln Continental, which if we'll go into cars later. I'm sorry, guys, but there's a lot of Ford vehicles in this movie.
There's a lot of gadgets in this movie, period.
And a lot of them are making,
good and bad side.
a couple of them are making like a debut into what Ford is producing in 1964.
I see. So they probably got offered a lot of money, like, we want you to advertise this by driving it around or something.
Well,
like that.
I don't think it's any different than what happens in other movies.
That's
like,
true.
In Batman Begins, for instance, Oldsmobile. A lot of the cars that were seen in the movie were Oldsmobiles.
Okay.
And then, like, I think that year in 2005 when that movie came out, or the year after, Chevrolet actually did away with the Oldsmobile line. So it's the last time you see an Oldsmobile really in a popular movie.
I guess, too, because at the time when the Bond movies, I guess, started getting really popular, this is probably the peak of their moment right now of, like, From Russia with Love did a really good job. We're getting more money. A lot of people are coming in at us, and I can see why so far in the series, this is the most we ever seen a lot of cars in a movie.
Well, and what's really impressive, and we were talking about this before, is Dr. No was 62. From Russia with Love was 63. And this movie is 64. So far, every year since 62, there's been a new Bond movie, and their budget has gotten bigger. So, yes, I found Dr. No not as exciting, and From Russia with Love really boring, but not having anything to compare it to, I guess, like we do now, it was like 24, 25 James Bond movies. Those were pretty hype, I guess.
Yeah.
I never looked up the numbers to see how they did at the box office. Maybe we should do that at the end.
Yeah, we should.
Discuss the box office numbers. That'd be kind of fun.
Okay.
But clearly they're making money if they're getting sponsorship from Ford,
right.
You know, or maybe that's how they were able to do so well, as they got sponsorship.
So we go further down, and this is the part where Bond is following, and basically kind of we're seeing the car and everything like that. But he's being tailed too by a speed demon in this nice, beautiful car, which we'll get to the Q branch of all these beautiful cars that we keep seeing.
64.5 Mustang.
Nice. And we find out that this woman is also on a mission of her own, and it's her going after Goldfinger. But for some reason, she's a terrible aimer because she tries to aim at Bond. It was like, where were you aiming at?
Well,
terrible.
To set up the scene.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Bond is following Goldfinger through the countryside. Both Bond and Goldfinger. So Goldfinger has a crap ton of money, so he put his car on an airplane.
That's right.
And they transported it.
That's right.
And the same thing happened with Bond. So they both land, and I think it's in Germany. And
yeah,
they travel so much in this one. It's really hard to keep track. I should have written it down, but I didn't expect them to travel as much. But Bond is following Goldfinger, and there's like this really interesting turnoff where there's a turn, but it's on 3 tiers.
Switzerland.
Okay, Switzerland.
They're in Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the bottom tier is Goldfinger and Oddjob, who have stopped to buy fruits and vegetables from these kids, or something. On the second tier is Bond, and on the third tier is
her name is Tilly Masterson.
Which
is Jill's sister,
which we find out later. And she's aiming at Goldfinger all the way down on the first tier, but almost hits Bond, is what Jeremy's talking about.
It almost looked like that she directly looked at Bond. Like, it felt like that she mistaken Bond of Goldfinger the way that was shot.
Right. It was just a terrible shot, and Bond tells her that later on, that you're an awful shot.
Right. And so after their course, they meet, and Bond kind of drives her off the road, and they're a little squabble.
Okay, Bond almost kills this woman. Like, let's be real. So Bond is driving the Aston Martin DB5, and he's got one of the things that happens is, anybody who saw the movie Grease, the wheels had like these spikes on it to tear up the other car.
It looked like some Roman pieces.
Right, like Roman chariots.
Yeah.
Stuff. Well, the DB5 has these pop out from the wheel, and Bond totally demolishes like her front wheel and her back wheel, and this poor woman like gets forced off the road, and Bond is like, "Oh, let me come help you," and it was just like, "What the hell, man?"
So, offering to drive her to a gas station, we find out that Bond actually found a little case, a wood case that looks like a sniper rifle will be in, which is like, duh. But Bond had to play dumb for a minute, and so they were driving back to the gas station where he was going to drop her off, and she had to go find a room or something because she's done for the night. She can't do anything.
Bond kept hitting on her, and she just kept avoiding his advances. Yeah. And so finally he just gives up.
Right.
And moves on.
Bond giving up, that's weird. And so, but you find out her name is Tilly because she has 2 initials on the case of her sniper rifle, which I don't recommend that, but it's whatever. And so with that out of the way, Bond continues following Goldfinger through the car tracking device, and he finds this little factory that he is basically, I guess you can say, it's a factory where some of his gold is there, and he's mixing it up and making stuff with his gold, I guess. Right?
He's we kind of glazed over this at the dinner at the dinner where they get the bar of gold from the Third Reich.
Right.
The guy that they're meeting with explains that he's an authorized jeweler, and that he has the legal ability to smelt gold into bars.
Okay.
And what makes gold so good for Goldfinger is that it's not trackable. You can go buy gold and then melt it down, and there's no way to track it because all of the information goes away. It's not like currency. So it's another reason why Goldfinger is so fond of it.
And that's why he uses that gold to make a gold car. So,
right.
So it definitely makes it untraceable.
Right. He's actually smuggling gold on his car.
Basically.
Right.
And then we find that out when Bond went down there to do some recon work, which this is the first time we actually see Bond in this particular mission do some
actual spy work.
Yeah.
Right.
And then during that mission, he runs into the famous Tilly again.
Well, but before then, he overhears Goldfinger's plan.
That's right.
Operation Grand Slam.
Right. He like in the funny part about it is like he only heard that word.
Right.
He doesn't know like the whole thing.
Right. And this comes in later as a big lifesaver for Bond.
Yes. And so he runs into Tilly. Tilly was attempting again to snipe Mr. Goldfinger, but Bond startled her, set her alarm. Now we go into another this is actually the first chase.
This is the first legitimate chase, and we get to see all the gadgets on his car used.
Mm-hmm. And now we go into the big question of a theory, or a question that we need to answer right now. Why is there a huge Asian organization working for Goldfinger in this particular place?
Right. This actually came up before me and Jeremy were recording. I thought I missed something because Goldfinger has Asian flight attendants on his private planes, but he's also got like this huge group of Asian workers who are wearing like imagine like a kung fu movie, those orange type gis that they wear, but they're gray and they all have yellow belts.
Right. And you would think like only Oddjob was the only Asian by his side, but maybe you think Oddjob maybe owns those people, maybe, and I don't know.
They don't ever allude to their slaves or they're being paid. All
we know is that Goldfinger travels a lot, and somehow maybe he got these guys dirt cheap to come work for him or something like that, and they were going to pay him wealthy or something like that. We don't really know, but it was very interesting because you would think it'd be a little mix of like, I don't know, a couple of white people in there, black people, no, just straight.
Well, like with Dr. No, there were different kinds of people that were working in his facilities, but this is like, it just seems like all of his henchmen are Asian.
They just don't snitch. Maybe that's it. They're a family. They look out for each other.
Maybe.
And he got him for a family pack. I don't know. But we go into the chase, and this is right, Travis says, where the car cuts loose. This is where we start seeing everything.
So Bond and Tilly are trying to outrun these group of Asian bad guys, and Bond got has his Aston Martin that's got it's got an ejector seat. The roof shoots off. Okay, I really like this car.
You're getting excited.
I am excited. This is the quintessential James Bond car. When anybody talks about James Bond, this is the car that everyone refers to. It came back in Casino Royale. It's the car he won from the bad guy in that movie, and then it's Skyfall. It's the car he took to his old property to help fight off Spectre.
It's a really nice car.
It's a legitimate car, and there's some conspiracy about this car specifically, which we'll talk about later on. But the car has a smoke screen. All the windows are bulletproof. It's got a bulletproof shield that pops up in the back. It's got a little red button, so anybody who's seen Men in Black, the shifter knob flips up, and there's a button that shoots the roof off and then ejects the passenger. It's got machine guns. It's got oil slick. Like it's the coolest car, and it looks good. You know, it's a little roadster for anybody who doesn't know. Just look up Aston Martin DB5.
But out of all the things that they basically almost used everything on that car, but it didn't do enough to, get away from the guys.
No, first he uses the smoke screen, and they're in a forested area, so a couple of guys crash. Then he deploys the oil slick, and this was gold.
No pun intended.
Oh, right, no pun intended. The car loses control and goes off a cliff. And as it's going off the cliff,
I love this scene.
It explodes for no reason.
My theory is that there was so much oil in that car, it just caught fire.
The fumes caught fire and blew up the car.
That's my only theory, but it doesn't make sense either.
But I mean, it's pretty awesome.
I think also too. This is in this movie so far, there hasn't been one big explosion yet, and that was one of them. I guess. Well,
I mean, there's so much excitement going on that you're just like, all right, a car blows up, I'll take it,
right?
But then Bond takes a wrong turn. He ends up getting trapped, and him and Tilly are taking gunfire. Now, mind you, he raised the shield that comes up the back and covers the back of the car, but he gets out to draw fire to give Tilly a chance.
That was a bad decision.
To escape.
A bad decision.
But hold on.
This is twice he made a bad decision.
Because Bond opens the car door and then gets behind it. So Bond is now on the outside of the car door, hiding behind it. Q told him all the windows are bulletproof. The window is down. And he is shooting through the frame. Whereas he could have the window up and shooting between the door and the car.
Right.
And I'm just like, what are you doing?
And the fact that, I don't know what he thinks, okay, 1, 2, 3, run. Because he was telling, I'll distract him, and you just run this way.
Right.
Into the forest. And it's you forget, how many men were out there. It's not like it was 5. There was a lot.
It's a lot. Each car has guys, hanging out the windows with guns.
And the funny part, I just laugh because it's this is another bad decision he made. He sent a black guy to the dragon in the first movie, Dr. No.
Yep.
And now he sends a girl out in the forest to get basically killed by Oddjob in his famous hat. The first time we actually seen Oddjob attempt to kill somebody.
Well, he did. It's not an attempt. He actually killed her.
Sorry, the shot didn't look like the attempt. But
Jeremy brought up something earlier because we see Oddjob's hat in action, and it decapitates a statue. It hits Tilly and just knocks her over. Doesn't decapitate her, doesn't draw blood. And Jeremy was saying...
I basically was saying that back in that time, I think they were not allowed to show very graphic scenes of, actually seeing the action of someone getting hit by it. So So basically, they kind of just saw her like get smacked by the hat. It felt like the hat knocked her out more than to kill her.
Right.
But the point was it was supposed to kill her, and it did kill her. And so, and we're not here to. That's a different story about how we could have gone with that scene, how it been. But the point is, like, this is the first time Oddjob is not playing around. He's just like you cross us, we're gonna kill you.
Right.
And so
Bond has now killed 2 sisters.
Yes.
And we haven't even gotten to the Bond girl yet.
Right. And the fact that I think Bond made another bad decision of now, okay, granted, I think Bond cared about this, but I think the decision could have gone a little bit better to me. But like, he went to Tilly because, he finds out that he's Jill's sister and he feels sorry that he killed literally 2 family members together, sisters. But my mind was like, you could just run away. I mean, you could have just left her. I mean, but he ends up getting caught.
Right.
And so Bond decides to go with them. I think he felt sorry. He felt like that he made a bad decision. He's like, I gotta live with it. So
before we go, because there's more car stuff.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Because an Asian guy gets in the car with Bond.
That's right.
And then there's
Bond's driving, by the way.
Yeah, Bond is driving, and there's a car in front of Bond's car and a car behind it.
That's right.
And Bond, like, all these cars, the first car turns right, and Bond turns left, and then pops.
Wait. Can we please mention the old lady at the toll?
Oh, the old lady.
The old lady at the toll opened it up to let her in, and she looks like a sweet old lady. But the question is, like, what are you doing in here, sweet old lady? Okay, now we go into that.
So, sweet old lady. So Bond basically makes an escape, uses the ejector seat on the Asian guy in the car with him, which blows off the roof of the car and ejects the passenger. But miraculously, the roof is back on in like 2 scenes later. But he's swinging back.
It's magnetized. It comes back.
He's swinging back around, and this lady who's in charge of raising and lowering a barricade for the cars to go through pulls out a machine gun and is just like shooting Bond's windshield is getting shot up, but it's bulletproof. So it's hilarious.
But right there, you find out that Goldfinger. God, I forget this. Man, sorry. So you find out that Goldfinger, my apologies for my listeners, that Goldfinger hires the craziest people. He just hires the craziest people.
I think it just goes to show that you don't know what you're going to encounter with Goldfinger.
Right. Because he has this so many crazy people working on random people. You have a silent Asian guy that can kill somebody with a hat. You have an old lady at a toll that just happens at the machine gun. It's just crazy.
Right.
So after a huge scene driving through the factory, going back and forth, he actually runs into himself ish.
Right. There's a mirror, a giant mirror for some reason, and
like it felt like Oddjob was like, we'll need this one day. I don't know when. But we're going to be using it for one day.
Okay, because one of the oddest scenes comes up right after. So Bond ends up running his car into a brick wall, which is kind of a funny scene because it looks like Play-Doh. Like the car just goes through it without damaging the car because it's an expensive car. But Oddjob gets out and like looks at the mirror and sees himself with the car and Bond passed out from the wreck. And is just like, this is a pretty sweet picture right here. And then turns around but now that you say that, it's like he's kind of like, I knew that mirror would come in handy.
So the next scene, which is probably like one of the best scenes in the film, because right here depicts of Bond being very vulnerable at the moment and how much of a villain Goldfinger is at that moment. This is the part where it's like, all right, now who's really better? Right. And so, Travis, would you lead this part because you love this scene?
Okay, so Bond is strapped to a table, and Goldfinger comes in and tells him, or calls him 007, and Bond is like, "Oh, my name is James Bond." He's like, "Please, dude, I saw your car. I know. Okay, you can't have a car like that
wish,
not be a 00 agent.
I wish you said exactly the way you did. Like, dude, I don't have time for this. Come on, man.
Right.
Really?
He's like, come on,
there's no women around. Who are you trying to impress?
This isn't golf anymore, you know. And Goldfinger has a giant laser set up.
Is a huge laser
that he's demonstrating to Bond how powerful it is. He says that you can hit the moon with it, and or you can. Well, what does he say?
I thought you said you can make a mark on the moon.
Oh, you can make a mark on the moon. That's right.
Yeah, you can make a mark on the moon, and it can actually cut through gold.
Right. And so Goldfinger has his guys, a bunch of Asian scientists, activate the laser, and Bond's legs are spread out, and his arms are spread out, and the laser is slowly going for his crotch.
May I say how cocky you are that you strap a man on a gold thing and that you're using a laser to cut through the gold that you love just to kill somebody you don't like? That is pretty damn cocky to me.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bond is freaking out, and he thinks that Goldfinger wants him to talk. Oh, right, I take that back. Yeah.
Nope.
So he's like, do you expect me to talk? And one of the greatest villain lines, because this is, especially in like the Austin Powers movies that make fun of these type of situations, Goldfinger isn't like, yeah, I expect you to talk. He's like, no, I expect you to die. Right? He's like, I'm done playing with you. we did our thing. I caught you. My laser's gonna kill you now.
Right?
You know?
I feel like I wish he just brought up all the stuff that he did to him. And it's like, no, I expect you to die. I mean, you cheated in golf. You ruined this. You think I didn't know that tracking device in the car? I knew all that stuff, man.
Right.
You think you got in this factory this easy? Come on, man.
Right.
All right, I'm out.
And then Bond is like, but if you kill me, 008 will come, and he knows everything I know. And Goldfinger's like, you don't know anything. He's like, you're dead, dude. Like, I have to leave now. I don't have time to watch you die. And then right as he's about to leave, Bond goes, oh, what about Grand Slam? And Goldfinger like doesn't even freak out. He's just like just patiently talking to another guy and the scientist that activated the laser. Bond is freaking out because it's getting closer and closer to his crotch, and Goldfinger's just like, oh, you could have heard two words anywhere. You know, that doesn't prove you know anything. And so it's just like everything that Bond is like coming up with, and
that laser was not playing. It was
cutting
close
through the table. You know, and so finally, just so he doesn't take any chances, Goldfinger says, all right, we'll take you with us, and then knocks him out. Like, this is such a good villain, because he's not giving the good guy an opportunity to get away. You know, he's like, no, I'm going to kill you.
Meaning that Bond should have died. He should have died at that moment. And this is what made it so good that he managed to push Bond out of his confidence to actually worry, like, I'm trying everything. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to die. I got to say something to get it going. There was no, like, special thing in his hand he could flip over. No, he was going to die. And that's what was such a great scene, and show that Bond is very vulnerable.
Right.
And that this is a guy you cannot play with. Bond, you can't come in this confident, man.
Right.
You know,
like Goldfinger is someone that you shouldn't mess with.
Right. And so, and I love that part too, where you're saying, like, he like continues talking. It's kind of like that, like he should have put his fingers like, give me just a second. And then they have to talk. It's like,
yeah, because really it just cuts over and there's three guys just, well, you know, maybe he does know something, maybe he doesn't. I don't really know.
Do you really want to take that chance? Like, God dang it. All right.
Like it's a legitimate conversation happening that you can't hear. So it's just like, well, is he going to free Bond? Was Bond going to die in the third movie? Is this going to be it? Like, it's one of those moments that you're actually thinking like, well, holy crap. The hero may not win.
Right. So, like you said, he knocks him out with like a little, like a
tranquilizer.
Tranquilizer gun. Wakes up on a plane. And actually, you know what? Let's take a break.
Okay.
Because we still got a long voyage. This is actually going to be a pretty long episode for us. But let's take a break. And when we come back, we will continue the voyage, introducing the actual Bond girl.
Because, yeah, this is my favorite intro for a Bond girl.
Right. So we're gonna meet the Bond girl, and then we'll wrap it up from there. Hey, this is Jeremy Evans, aka your in-game boss, and I want to thank you so much for listening to this podcast as part of the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety of these shows that you can find on Podbean, YouTube, and of course iTunes. Shows like the In-Game Boss podcast, the Gaming Halls of Rivalries, Bond Never Dies, and Area 44. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show. And welcome back to Bond Never Dies. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, with the one and only Travis Hanna. And we are going to continue our voyage right when Bond got knocked out. So he wakes up, and he happens to be on a beautiful, luxurious airplane.
Yep.
And who's there to welcome him, Mr. Travis?
Pussy Galore.
And Pussy Galore already has a gun ready. Already came at him, and he's like, "How you doing, Mr. Bond?" And he's like, "Good. What's going on?"
Right. He asks her what her name is, and she says Pussy Galore, and he's like, "Oh, did I go to heaven?" Like, no joke.
I feel like that goes by over a lot of people's heads if you go into that movie. But he basically is in his own private plane, being piloted by one of the best pilots, Pussy Galore, as they head to, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it Kentucky, into a ranch?
I believe it is.
Or Baltimore?
It's to a ranch in the United States.
Yeah, so they go to a ranch where Goldfinger is a big fan of horses, and he does horse races, and he trains horses for horse races. And right there, Goldfinger welcomes him. And, let's go back. Before that, he had to change, right? So the bathroom scene is another great scene of keep an eye on him, but we're going to really keep an eye on him. So this Asian woman that was basically kind of like the flight attendant, kind of spies on Bond, but Bond is getting good at checking his surroundings. Okay. Ever since From Russia with Love, he's doing a great job. I'm proud of him. And so he blocks one of the peepholes, then he blocks another peephole.
Well, there's a clock on the back of the door in the bathroom, and there's a clock on the front of the door in the cabin of the plane, and there's a little peephole that you can see into the bathroom. So this is the first attempt to keep an eye on Bond as he's changing, and he hangs his coat on the clock so that you can't see in. Right.
And then he looks to the other part, and he sees another one, and he blocks that off.
Right. So he's shaving, and in the mirror he notices that you can't see it as the viewer, but the woman has like a secret two-way mirror section where she's watching James Bond shave, and he sprays shaving cream over that spot on the mirror.
And then right there, this is where Bond activates his other gadget that he puts in his shoe. And this gadget particularly lets Felix know where he is.
Right. So it's the smaller tracking device.
Right. And so from there, he's in a nice suit flying down, only to get put right back in a jail cell right when he hits the ranch.
Right.
But he looks good. And so now this is where, and we're going to be speeding this up real quick, because this is basically pretty simple. Goldfinger has a plan. So he has everybody in a room where he explains what his plan is, Operation Grand Slam. Okay. So he said that, first of all, he got the idea from Denny's. So that's fine. No, I'm joking. So he gets all these big high rollers coming in that demanded his money, but he said, "Hey, man."
Well, they all did something for him.
Oh, yes, right.
So they all shipped things for him with the promise that they would all be paid $1 million.
That's right.
And they're all like gangster type characters.
That's right. And so, but he makes him another offer. It's like, you could have $1 million, or you can have what's in current number 2, $10 million. And
right. If you just wait one day.
Right. And he said, "What's the plan?" So, Travis, go ahead and tell our listeners what the plan was.
So he wants to. So, okay.
And we talked about this at the very beginning.
Yeah. So there's knockout gas that one of these guys shipped across state lines. He He's going to use it to knock out the military who are guarding Fort Knox.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're going to use explosives to get through the electrified fences at Fort Knox. And then they're going to... He tells them that they're going to steal the gold from Fort Knox. But in reality, he has a nuclear weapon that he's going to activate to irradiate the gold so that his becomes more valuable.
Right. And so... So during all that action, leading to telling them what the whole plan is, Bond plays a joke on a guard, which is coming into question right here. I don't know how he did this, where he comes through, the Asian guy's looking, like he has an Asian guard just looking at Bond through the window. He goes up once, he walks off.
Anybody who has seen Last Samurai, imagine Bob, who follows Tom Cruise around and just keeps an eye on him. This dude is just sitting, staring at Bond through this little square hole with bars on it. And
so he goes up and he walks back. And he's like telling him to come here. And he does it about a couple more times. Then he just dips down in his view. Like if you're like straight looking at your friend and all of a sudden in front of a door with the window and he just drops down.
Almost like the elevator gag.
Yeah. And so... I don't know what he was thinking. His mindset was like, well, where did he go? And he's like, where would he go? I don't know why he decided to go, but he gets up to check, and somehow Bond made it up to the top.
Okay, so
right when he opened the door, the ceiling.
This guard is not dumb. First, he gets his gun out, and he just like looks into the cell, doesn't see anything. So he unlocks the door and he kicks it open, and the door slams against the wall like flat.
So he was trying to see if he was behind the door or not?
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think what Bond did was he ducked down in front of the door, moved over, and then climbed up. Because Bond is actually hanging on the ceiling. I
guess I question how he does that from without seeing a hand come across. Because it's like he has to really pull on that wall and then work his way up to...
No, I'm with you, dude.
It is so weird.
But it's Bond.
Yeah, Bond can do this. It's so weird. Good for him.
In a three-piece gray suit.
Right? And so Bond escapes, and he actually finds the room where a model is being displayed by Goldfinger.
So, real quick, we got to talk about this. Goldfinger's whole presentation to these guys about getting $10 million and robbing Fort Knox. Okay. He's got a pool. Starts out, he's got a pool table.
Oh God! Tell me about the 10 steps of telling you my plan.
Yeah. So they're all in this really nice wood, decor room. There's a pool table. These guys are like, "Hey, we did these things for you. You owe us all $1 million." And Goldfinger's like, "Yeah, I owe you $1 million, and you're all going to get paid. But if you wait a day, you'll get $10 million." And everyone's like, "What do you mean?" So he hits a button and the pool table starts moving.
Where someone says, "Hey, I was playing pool, by the way."
Yeah. The pool table starts moving, and then the floor or the room gets dark. The floor a map shows up, and he starts telling the plan that he wants to rob Fort Knox and that it's his bank. And they're laughing at him. And then the floor opens up, and there's the scale model of the surrounding area.
For some reason, he could not explain it on the map. As soon as I left, I was like, okay, apparently you guys don't get it. I happen, but for just in case you guys are making fun of me, I actually made a real model. So he's talking about this real model right here.
Right. So it's almost like Doc Brown in Back to the Future explaining to Marty with a giant model. And it's just dude, you realize that you could have just paid these guys off because you don't need to go to this length. Because once the plan is done, what are you going to do with all this?
Right. But like from the very beginning, he cheats. He cheats by cutting these guys off so he can get this money himself. And it's funny because during that whole time he's presenting this thing, Bond happens to make his way into the room where the model is being rose and displayed, and he's under the part on the display where Fort Knox is, and he can
he's under the model. And he's looking through the windows of Fort Knox.
Yeah, and he's eavesdropping basically of what Project Grand Slam is.
Right.
And so after that, he gets welcomed again by Miss Pussy Galore with a gun, and she said, "I'm glad you had fun, but you're going right back in there. But before we do, Mr. Goldfinger wants to talk to you."
Right.
And so So they go out there, and I guess he find. I'm trying to think. Oh, sorry.
One of the guys didn't want to wait a day. He just wanted his $1 million.
Yes.
And so Goldfinger is loading this guy's.
That's right. That's
loading up his
Bond
car
came, yeah.
with gold bars.
Mm-hmm.
And Oddjob is going to drive the guy to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually happens is the Oddjob shoots the guy in the back seat, takes the car to a junkyard where it gets crushed.
Now, can we rewind back for just a second here? Can we talk about how Bond set the tracking device into Mr. Solo, the guy that was in the car?
Yeah. So Bond writes down everything he hears about Grand Slam, and as he's walking up to Goldfinger, talking to this guy while he's loading gold up, he slips out the tracking device from his shoe, rolls it up into the paper, and slips it in this guy's pocket, because there are agents that are tracking him. They just believe he's got everything under control.
Mm-hmm.
And
then that's when Felix was end up following Mr. Solo and Oddjob as they were heading to the airport. Or was he? So Oddjob just takes a different route. Mr. Solo, of course, being silly, and he's being dumb, and he's like, well, that's not the route to the airport. Oddjob should have said, I got you. He should have.
Oddjob didn't talk throughout the
I know,
movie.
but it'd been funny, the one line he says, like, I got you.
I got you.
So this is where it gets weird. And this is where it shows me that Goldfinger really doesn't care as long as the job is done. He don't care how much it costs. And so he takes him to a he kills him.
Takes the car to a junkyard.
Crush up the car. And then takes the crush up car back to his place.
Right. Oddjob mysteriously comes out with this Ford Falcon Ranger.
What happens to be in the junkyard too? Like, so this is not the first time they've done this,
right? So, Pussy Galore is telling Goldfinger that Bond overheard everything, and while they're talking, Oddjob shows back up with the crushed car in the back of his car, and this is the craziest thing. Goldfinger and Oddjob have to go extract the gold from the car that they put in the trunk to mislead the guy. So instead of Oddjob popping the trunk and removing the gold before they crushed it, like, he just left it in the trunk. The Claw picked up the car and crushed. Like, it was like, what?
Look. All we know so far is Oddjob is good at throwing a hat. He doesn't look for logics. He doesn't put two and two there. He just does what he needs to be told.
And so this gives time for Pussy Galore and James Bond to literally go for a roll in the hay.
Right. And like, the funny part is this is the first time that Pussy Galore and a Bond girl actually knows a little bit of fighting.
Oh, right, because she knows judo.
Right.
And she shoots people with guns.
Yeah, so this is the first time, like, once again, in this movie, they're trying to prove who's better at what in Pussy Galore's turn, and somehow Bond was Bond, and he bonded. And bonded so well that, I'll tell you later, but she ends up helping Bond out.
Right.
So speeding up, they do the operation. They have these airplanes, which Pussy Galore owns. I don't want to say she owns an airport, but she just trains pilots.
Right.
And she trains these women pilots to go.
They're going to fly over the area where Fort Knox is and release the knockout gas. That's supposed to knock out anybody in the radius for 24 hours.
Which, by the way, we did forget that's what happened to the group in there, and we have no idea what happened to that group after this moment.
Right, so
they could have just robbed the place and ran out. I don't know.
The group that agreed to take the $10 million are waiting in the room while the dude is outside getting his car loaded up, and Goldfinger turns the gas on them and knocks them all out.
Right. So while he's doing this mission, they're probably robbing the place, and so, or they're waiting for him to kill him. But so to go further in, they make it to Fort Knox, and they found a way to open up the safe where they would bring out the device that was going to radiate the gold.
Right.
And Bond was going to go with them because the plan was Bond was going to be handcuffed to this radiator so he can kill two birds with one stone.
Right. Again, he had no issue trying to kill Bond.
And so they go in there, and he leaves Bond. I think like put him on the elevator and just lay him down with it, and then he was gonna walk off. But Bond was already ahead of him when some certain military people were faking dead. So that shows that this gas was not really doing the job.
Right. So there was a montage of like military personnel just collapsing. Like they all of a sudden just passed out.
Right.
And then miraculously they all get up and they all start like going towards Fort Knox.
And that's where the giant battle happened, and where Goldfinger did the most OGest, most gangster thing ever. He disguised him. He gets an outfit on because his goal was like, in case shit happens for some reason, I have a military uniform, so I can just walk out. So he was walking out, and they say, "Hey guys, they're in there." And they walk in. He turns around. By the way, the first guy with the golden gun. By the way, first guy with the golden Magnum.
It's a revolver that's gold.
Right. Turns around, shoots him. By the way, I do question that theory. Would a gold revolver actually shoot?
Probably not. It's pretty soft.
Okay.
It wouldn't be ideal. You can gold plate something. Maybe it was gold plated.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. Like the heat from it would just not work out. But anyways, so he ends up shooting all 6 of these guys perfectly. Good for him, because that's his only one moment.
Right.
And so meanwhile, while the battle's going there, Bond is trying to escape, and And what happens after that was he gets in a fight with Oddjob.
Right.
And so with Oddjob, Oddjob gets this one moment, and he's like throwing the hat.
Well, right. And Bond gets the hat and throws it at these bars. Mm-hmm. Well, Oddjob cut the electrical power, right?
Yes.
Right. And so Bond picks up the hat and throws it at the bars that are behind these bars are the gold for Fort Knox. Mm-hmm. And it gets stuck. Oddjob goes to grab the hat, and Bond electrocutes him by touching the wires to the bars.
Okay. Yeah. And so, but before that too, I realized that Bond was trying all attempts to beat him, and he shows like he cannot beat him.
Oh, right. Oddjob was too strong.
Wow. And then
let's face it, he crushed a golf ball with one hand.
And so out of all that, he shocks him, and then to wrap it all up, basically, is, Bond succeeds on the mission, and he gets on this plane to go meet the president, only to get trapped by Goldfinger, which it's funny because somehow this is impossible, I think, on a plane like this. We need to set this up. Sorry.
This was mentioned earlier in the movie. So right after Bond changes clothes on the plane with Pussy Galore, the first time they meet, Pussy Galore has a real gun.
That's right.
And he tells her that it's a .45. It'll go right through me, through the fuselage, and depressure the cabin, and we'll all die. Mm-hmm. So Goldfinger comes out with his gold gun,
and then he misses, I believe. Breaks the window. Somehow his fat ass made it through the window.
Okay, so anybody who has seen any kind of space movie, trying to think, Alien Resurrection is a good example. There's an alien-human hybrid, and it dies by being sucked out into space through a tiny hole because the pressure inside of the spaceship is lighter, or the pressure outside. The pressure inside the ship is greater than outside, so it creates a vacuum, and it sucks this alien through a tiny hole and kills it.
Right.
Similar thing happens to Goldfinger. He gets sucked from one side of the plane all the way to this airplane window, and then gets sucked out the window and falls to his death, which is pretty incredible because no human being, I think, could really fit through those windows.
Right.
And it wasn't gruesome or gory or anything. It was just really strange.
Mm-hmm. And then we see that because of one window really affect the plane because the plane was going down.
Right, so it depressurized the whole fuselage, and Pussy Galore was flying for some reason. So Pussy Galore actually tipped off the military, which is how they got back up.
That's why I was saying when Bond was bonding it, he was bonding it.
Right. Like, he was so good, apparently she switched sides. But somehow she was flying the plane with Goldfinger on it. Goldfinger gets sucked out the window, and her and Bond are trying to keep the plane from crashing. Mm-hmm. And they end up just jumping out and parachuting out.
So, yeah. And basically, Bond does what he does best. We'll give him some time to come find us. Let's do our thing.
Right.
So, but overall, like, I thought the movie was super exciting, a little over the top, but it was just really fun because it's like, it really built the characters by like competing against each other. I think that's what made the movie so good. Everybody was competing against. Well, Bond and Goldfinger were competing against each other, like who was better, and that Goldfinger was really a good villain in some sort of way.
Well, and then it just kept a strong pace,
right,
from the very beginning all the way through to the
just
end,
straight to the point,
right.
And so let's do a quick Bond villain and Bond girl. So for the Bond villain, Goldfinger, I want to count Goldfinger and Oddjob. This is the first time we got a combination this time.
Okay.
And the thing I like about Goldfinger was he was a villain that, honestly, he was a villain like, look, you don't mess with me, I don't mess with you. But once you step in my world, I don't play games.
Right.
And so that's what I really liked about that. And like I said, when we went back to the laser thing, was like, I expect you to die. Like, I don't care, Bond. I don't really care. Like, you think you're the smoothest person? Well, then why you get caught? That's why you got a laser here, buddy. Right.
It really gave us the sense that Goldfinger was a villain.
And then Oddjob, he was the very first. He was interesting because he was the silent type. He let his actions speak louder.
Right.
And so, but the one thing I love about Goldfinger, and Oddjob was cool, but he was just kind of there. You know what I mean? He was just kind of there. But the thing I like about Oddjob is, I mean, not Oddjob, Goldfinger was, money was the power. This was what basically came down to. Money was power. He had the money to do all this stuff. And he proved that money can get anything he wants and almost defeat his enemies. That's what the basic I got out of that. And so, what's any takes on your part?
Just that these were great villains. Oddjob didn't need to talk. Like, he was the Harpo Marx of bad guys. Mm-hmm. You know, he just he was pure intimidation.
Right.
He was shorter than everybody else, but you could tell he was stronger too.
Mm-hmm. And then we go into the Bond girl, which, if you ever watch this movie, you get easily mistaken who you think the Bond girl was. Was it Jill? No, Jill got turned to gold. Was it Tilly? No, Tilly. She got shot up. So it ended up being Pussy Galore, and Pussy Galore, she came towards the very end of this film. But
it's almost like Dr. No.
Right, but she actually made a mark.
Right, she was pretty hardcore.
Right, and that's what came down to about Goldfinger. Everybody, there was all these memorable names. You can't walk out of there without mentioning Oddjob, Pussy Galore, Goldfinger. These are names like they're so weird, and like I'll remember these names. I'll remember what they do. Even if Pussy Galore didn't really do a lot in that film, the name itself is like, that is an interesting name, and I can't believe this was allowed to be named in a film. So,
right, where were the censors?
Right,
of course, this is before like rated R,
right,
and all that kind of stuff. The MPAA,
right. So. But Pussy Galore, to me, still did a really good job. She's probably by far so far on our journey, the best Bond girl so far for what she did. Goldfinger, it's tough. I don't know. I think I would put him above
Grant.
Yeah.
From from Russia with Love.
Because Grant was a higher gun. And Goldfinger was like our very first really good official villain.
Well, and Goldfinger wasn't a part of Spectre.
That's true.
So we need to keep that in mind too.
That's true.
I guess Spectre should be maybe its own enemy.
Yeah. And so, or I guess we'll find out who the leader is, and maybe, or we'll either count that or we'll count the whole organization as a villain or something like that. But let's go into our Q branch real quick.
Okay.
And so basically through our whole talking, we kind of gave away almost stuff, but I just want to do a quick recap. So the Q branch where we have for the gadgets is a DB5.
Aston Martin.
And it had bulletproof windows, revolving plated doors. I think I want to revolving license plates.
Right.
From different countries.
Right. So whatever country he went into, or if he was trying to get away, he could change his license plate.
Right.
Almost like in the Transporter.
Right. And then he had two tracking devices that Q gave him. The big one was for tracking the car. Second one was for people to track you, which you slip it on the shoe, which I think that's where Get Smart got the idea of the shoe. 100%. And then inside the car was a defensive gadgets that included smoke screen, oil spill stuff, real bulletproof screen that would come right behind. Was it behind him?
It was the back window.
Yeah, it was back window. And two straight machine guns, which we forgot to mention that he did use.
Yeah, but he shot at the mirror of himself.
Yeah, no, sorry.
So like, I was kind of hoping for like a 1989 Batman type deal where he like shoots the garage door and busts through it, but
yeah. You know. And then the famous ejector seat by a push of a red button. So the question is, did his gadget do the job that he needed to do? Yes, I think he did do the job because it was basically following Goldfinger the whole time. And so, sadly enough, it got its comings, by crazy lady. Because I think that reared him off a little bit into the town where he crashed into a wall by a fake mirror. Good job, Oddjob. And so, but
also the spike wheels.
Okay, now I want to talk about that real quick.
Okay.
I don't remember him ever mentioning the spike wheels.
I don't think he ever did either.
Okay.
Because I was like, wait, when did he talk about that?
Okay, good. I'm not the only one.
No.
So that was kind of like what I feel like that he pressed it and he's like, oh, cool. Right?
Yeah.
That is freaking weird. So, but overall, Goldfinger was a terrific film. Great villains. Great action. This is something I think they learned from the last two of his missions, where it's like, we're going to give you this mission straight to the point. Go. No sitting here telling you what you got to do in this and this and this. Where it's like, here it is. There he is. The moment they said, here's your mission, and there he is over there, it was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. Time to earn my paycheck.
And so far, this is, I think in episode 0, I think we both mentioned this in our top 5. I think our favorite Bonds.
Yes, we did.
And so it's definitely staying in my top 5. Is it staying in your top 5?
100%. So far, out of the 3 that we've seen so far,
okay,
this is my favorite. And then it would have to be Dr. No, and then From Russia with Love.
So now the question is, on the villain front, is Goldfinger number 1 right now for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because he's a true villain. He just wanted to eliminate any possibility of his failure, so he was prepared to kill Bond. It was just something technical, just in case,
right?
That he decided to keep him alive, and then even then knocked him out, and had him in full control. Bond had to use his cunning to get out of his situation.
Goldfinger wrote the handbook of this is how you're a villain in this Bond world now. And so we'll see who follows that handbook or not. But I want to thank for everybody listening. I know this is a long episode, but it was a lot to cover. Like we said, there was a lot of stuff they put in this movie. There was a lot of pack.
And it was fun to talk about.
Right.
Like, it was a good movie because you enjoy talking about it.
And this is the moment we actually got a really good villain, and we got a really good Bond challenging him. And so I want to thank all the listeners, but definitely join us on the next episode where we go in kind of underwater on this one with a movie called Thunderball.
Right.
And so...
And this is what I have at the top of my list.
Okay.
So this was number 1 for me.
I don't know if it's number 1 for me. I have to look back on it, but...
we'll see if it's still number 1 next time.
So you talking about this is number 1 out of all your ranks?
Out of all my ranks, this is the one that I enjoyed the most.
Okay.
That I remember.
Okay.
So it's been a long time since I've seen these, like I said. But this is number 1 for me, and we'll see if it's still number 1 next time.
Do you think the song was up there too? Is that your list? Was that song on your list of one of your favorites when we go into it?
I don't remember if it was or not.
Well, I guess we'll look at it when we get to that. But with that, listen to our commercial at the very end, and we will catch y'all on our next mission.
Ba-da, ba-da.
Hi, and thank you so much for taking time to listen to the show that is part of the In-Game Boss program. Remember, you can always visit us on Facebook and Twitter to get up-to-date news about what shows are premiering and whatnot. And also, you can always listen to our shows on iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. And remember to follow and subscribe, leave a review and a 5-star rating to keep us going. And thank you so much.